Welcome again to Informative Channel. Today we will discuss what will happen if nobody in world work. If nobody in the world worked, the consequences would be catastrophic. Work is essential for human survival and societal progress. Islam, as well as common sense, emphasizes the importance of work not only for individual well-being but for the prosperity of the entire society. Here's a detailed breakdown of what would happen if no one worked, supported by examples, the Quran, and Islamic teachings. 1. Collapse of basic services. Without people working, basic services such as healthcare, food supply, sanitation, and law enforcement would stop functioning. In hospitals, no doctors or nurses would mean untreated illnesses, leading to widespread disease and deaths. In agriculture, if farmers stopped growing crops, food shortages would lead to famine. Example is, imagine if no one transported or delivered food to cities. Shelves in supermarkets would be empty, and within days, people would struggle to feed themselves. 2. Economic breakdown. The world economy relies on work. Trade, business, and financial systems would collapse without people to manage them. Money itself would lose its value because its worth comes from the goods and services created by work. Example is, the Great Depression in the 1930s is an example of economic collapse due to unemployment. Millions lost their jobs, and economies took years to recover. 3. Technological stagnation. Advancements in technology and science depend on the continuous work of researchers, engineers, and innovators. Without work, progress in medical research, education, and industrial development would cease. The world would revert to a primitive state. Islamic perspective. Islam places great importance on work. The Quran encourages labor and effort as a means of earning one's livelihood and improving society. Surah Al-Jumu'ah, 62:10. Then when the Friday prayer is ended, you may disperse through the land, and seek the bounty of Allah, by working. And remember Allah much so that you may be successful. This verse highlights the importance of balancing worship with productive work, indicating that seeking livelihood is not just a worldly activity but a form of worship when done ethically. 4. Loss of purpose and mental health crisis. Work provides a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Without it, people would struggle with feelings of idleness, boredom, and mental distress. Social stability would also be jeopardized as individuals lose their roles in society. Example is, in retirement communities or among unemployed populations, higher rates of depression and anxiety are often reported. Without work or meaningful activities, mental health deteriorates. Islamic teaching. Islam emphasizes the dignity of labor and the importance of making a living through halal, permissible means. Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, said, "The best of you is the one who earns from his own labor and spends on himself and his family." Hadith. This stresses that labor is not just for wealth, but for moral and spiritual well-being as well. 5. Moral and spiritual decline. Islam advocates for a work ethic that is rooted in faith, promoting the idea that work should be done sincerely for the sake of Allah and for the benefit of society. If no one worked, it would lead to a loss of discipline and morality. Laziness would dominate, and societal values would deteriorate. Surah Al-Baqarah, 2:286. Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear. It will have the consequence of what good it has gained, and it will bear the consequence of what evil it has earned. This verse emphasizes the principle of personal responsibility. One must work for what they want in life, whether it be material or spiritual. 6. Religious perspective on laziness. In Islam, laziness and avoiding work are discouraged. Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, often sought refuge from laziness in his prayers, highlighting its negative impact on both faith and worldly life. Hadith says, "O Allah, I seek refuge in you from laziness and helplessness." This dua, prayer, signifies that not working can lead to a state of helplessness, which is contrary to the Islamic ideal of self-sufficiency and contributing to the welfare of others. Here are additional points for the scenario where nobody works, further integrating examples, Islamic teachings, and Quranic references. 7. Environmental degradation. If people stopped working, industries related to environmental protection and sustainability would cease functioning. Waste management services would no longer operate, leading to piles of uncollected garbage in cities and towns, causing widespread pollution. Conservation efforts for forests, oceans, and wildlife would also halt, leading to environmental degradation on a large scale. Example is, without people working in water treatment plants, clean drinking water would become unavailable, and contaminated water could spread disease. Similarly, efforts to combat climate change would completely stall, leading to more rapid environmental crises like global warming and species extinction. Islamic teaching. Islam emphasizes the importance of being responsible stewards of the earth. Protecting the environment is seen as a form of worship. Surah Al-A'raf, 7:31. O children of Adam, take your adornment at every masjid, and eat and drink, but be not excessive. Indeed, He likes not those who commit excess. This verse encourages moderation and responsibility in how we consume resources, aligning with the principles of environmental sustainability. 8. Family and social structure breakdown. Work is often central to maintaining family stability. Parents who work provide for their families, ensuring that children receive education, shelter, and food. Without work, families would struggle to meet basic needs, leading to social chaos. Dependency on others or the state would increase, causing a strain on social services that would eventually collapse as well. Example is, in countries with high unemployment, the lack of job opportunities often leads to social unrest, higher crime rates, and family breakdowns. A large portion of society could be driven to illegal means to survive, leading to further instability. Islamic perspective. Islam strongly promotes the idea of taking responsibility for one's family and providing for them. Hadith says, "It is enough of a sin for a man to neglect those who are under his care." Sunan Abu Dawud. This hadith stresses that providing for one's family is not just a social duty but a religious obligation. Work is seen as a means to fulfill this obligation, ensuring the family's well-being. 9. Global hunger and poverty crisis. If no one worked, the production and distribution of food would collapse, leading to a global hunger crisis. Agriculture, food processing, and distribution systems rely heavily on human labor. With no farmers planting crops, no workers processing food, and no transportation delivering it, famine would spread globally. Poverty rates would skyrocket as people would have no means to earn a livelihood. Example is, historical famines, such as the Irish potato famine, show how dependent societies are on continuous food production and labor. When these systems fail, millions suffer, and it can take years to recover from the devastation. Islamic teaching. Islam encourages charity and work to fight poverty, but it also promotes the idea of self-sufficiency through labor. Hard work is a means of preventing societal collapse. Surah Al-Baqarah, 2:195. And spend in the way of Allah and do not throw yourselves with your own hands into destruction. And do good, indeed, Allah loves the doers of good. This verse emphasizes the importance of striving for good, which includes fighting poverty and hunger through work and charitable efforts. 10. Loss of knowledge and education. Without teachers, professors, and scholars, the education system would collapse. Knowledge, which is a cornerstone of human progress, would no longer be passed down to future generations. This loss would have long-term effects, as society would become less informed, less skilled, and less capable of solving its own problems. Example is, during the Dark Ages in Europe, the collapse of the Roman Empire led to a period where many scientific and philosophical advancements were lost for centuries. It was only through the work of scholars, especially in the Islamic Golden Age, that much of this knowledge was preserved and later passed on to the world. Islamic perspective. In Islam, seeking knowledge is a form of worship and is considered essential for both individual and societal success. The Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, encouraged his followers to seek knowledge and contribute to the betterment of society through education. Hadith says, seeking knowledge is an obligation upon every Muslim. Sunan Ibn Majah. By ceasing work, The systems that foster education would be dismantled, leading to a society deprived of knowledge, understanding, and advancement. Conclusion. In summary, if no one worked, it would result in environmental destruction, family breakdowns, global hunger, and the loss of knowledge and education. Islam and the Quran provide clear guidance on the value of work for both personal development and societal well-being. Work is a means to fulfill one's responsibility to oneself, family, and community, ensuring that society functions harmoniously and productively. By integrating work into daily life with sincere intention and ethical practices, Muslims are encouraged to contribute positively to the world, aligning with the broader objectives of Islam to promote welfare, knowledge, and justice.